Guys, what do you think? Bam! I'm missing 2 of these rotor bolts. I'll order them and get them in, and I'll install them before I ride. But I took the 4 rotor bolts I had left and Loctited them. Take the paint off the threads just by running the screw in and running the screw out and all the paint flakes off. And then you clean that debris off and then you Loctite it. You want Loctite fresh straight to the metal on these bolts, guys. And the other side, I'm going to show you how I'm going to Loctite the other side. I just ran them in with a zip gun. I just ran them in with that zip gun right there. They don't have to be super tight. They're tapered. You want some good torque on them. And I didn't bother taking the paint off because I'm going to show you how I'm going to Loctite these. And you do want to do this, guys. In 1991, I had a brand new 91 CR250 at Budds Creek, and one of these bolts backed out. The nut fell off the back, and it hit the swing arm like that when I landed off the big tabletop at the bottom of what used to be the starting downhill. If you look at my other Budds Creek video, it's basically the tabletop after where I had my bad crash where I injured my back. But I landed from up in the air like that, and it broke the hub, broke the spokes, twisted the sprocket. Didn't bend the swing arm, but it put a big gouge in it. I mean, it tore all kind of stuff up. So you don't want these coming loose, guys. So what I do after I torque them is I go back and I just put a little Loctite just like that, and that'll dry there and it'll keep that nut from backing out. That's such a small detail, doesn't take much, it's not a big deal. You know, yeah, it's probably better to put the Loctite in the nut, but that'll do the job of keeping those from backing off. And even if they get loose and jiggle around, they won't come loose enough to come out and hit the swing arm and cause a potentially fatal crash, and or if not, massive amounts of product and parts damage. Okay, this is the wrong sprocket the guy had on the bike that originally was riding it before. Well, there's nothing wrong, he can do whatever he wants with his bike, but that's a different gearing than what I want. So I'm going to take this sprocket back off. I went up 3 in the back and stayed stock in the front, and that's going to give me a nice first gear start on a loamy motocross track, or a nice second gear start on a downhill somewhere, and still give me all the torque I need. All right, let's get the chain buffer on there to protect the swing arm, and once we get the right sprocket on there and get the chain buffer on there, then we can put the chain on. Okay, guys, we got the sprockets on. When you're putting your chains on, you would think that that's where you want to tension this chain, but look, you don't have this bottom roller in. You see that? You want all your rollers in place. This top one wouldn't matter much because it ain't touching, but you want all your rollers in place when you tension your chain, because it's going to take slack out. So if you put it super tight to the very edge and it barely fit with the wheel all the way slid forward, you wouldn't have room. So get your rollers in place first, then go back and I'll show you how to slide the plates and set your chain. The right size sprocket, we got the rollers in place. That chain is going up and back over the roller the way it's supposed to. So to set your length correctly, you get that axle as far forward in the link as it'll go. See that bolt's not holding it back? What's holding that axle is the actual slot in the swing arm. So that's as far forward as it'll go, okay? You're not getting any far forward than that. And when I set the chain, see how it's on an odd link? See that? If I cut that off, I'll be on an odd link. I'll be missing one. So what you do is you back off one, like that, and now you're on a joinable link. See that? When I cut this off, I'll be able to put that together, and then when you slide this back, you're right in the meat of the adjustment range. You're right in the meat of it. See that, guys? So that's how you determine the proper chain length. You want to get the sprockets you're going to use and have everything on the bike the way you're going to run it, and then install it, and then set the chain length. That's the right way to do it. Mark the link I want to cut by grinding into it. You see that little shiny spot there? That was me marking which one I want to cut. So you drop the rest of the chain out of the way, you wrap it around the sprocket to hold it, and you cut your grinder and you eject away from the vehicle. when you get all the peening off, and you got a nice flat surface like that, and there's no peening left, then you just pop the link off. There's a number of ways you can do that. The right way is with a chain cutting tool and the pins that push. But what I do is I have a junky old screwdriver that I don't care about. Watch this. It's just faster, and as a flat rater, you're just not wasting as much time. So, okay. But again, don't do that with a good quality screwdriver that you care about. Keep an old junk one around for that purpose if you're going to get into this. All right, let's see what kind of link we got. I hope it's not one of those cheap clip links. Hopefully it's a rivet link. Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't use the ones with the clips, guys. If you get one with your chain that has a clip, throw it out and buy the one that's made by that brand that has the rivet. Don't trust the clips. They come off, and then when the engine's gassed up, it pulls the top of the chain up to the engine, smacks it, breaks the case. It's a mess. Don't trust them. Okay, you got those two O-rings in there. You got grease spooched everywhere. Come out here, spooch some more grease everywhere. You just want to give those O-rings a nice, safe, lubed up place to live. Get these O-rings on where they go. Put grease on the inside and the outside of them so they're lubed up on both sides like that. Work it all around. And then you can use a number of tools to do these. You know, I press them on with big channel locks because I got a big set that works perfect for that. But you can take a 8mm or a 5/16 wrench, put over the pin and squeeze it with a C-clamp. I mean, there's a number of things you can do at the track if you're having an emergency to get that on. But the main thing is you want to squeeze it on far enough to get the peening to come out to be safe. I'll show you that in a second. But you don't want to squeeze it enough to bind the link. You don't want the link grinding and tearing those O-rings out. You want to just squeeze it just far enough. This tool here is actually the proper way to do this job. If you're going to get into stuff with the right tools, this is what you want. That back plate there with no holes in it holds the rivets on the back, and the front one with the two holes lets you push over the pins to get it where you want it. And you start by hand because you want to get this jiggled into the right spot. See that? You want to start that by hand just so you're not grinding pins yet. Then tighten this down to where you want it. And you just go in far enough to get those links squeezed up. You don't want to go too far, guys, because see that binding action there? That's bad. You don't want that binding. You want to just get it just enough to where you can get the peening out on the edge, and then go back and peen it. Okay, that binding's not what you want. I probably went, a couple thousandths too far. All right, now what you do to peen it is you take your anvil in the back, that holds your pin, and then you take your splitters right here and you split up into that pin and you jam it. Put your anvil in and set it like that, and then finger tighten this one. Okay, it's finger tight and jiggled into place. This is called the riveter. See how it's got a rounded front face that spreads that pin? Put the riveter in here and torque the living goodness out of this nut right here, and that'll jam it in and peen it. You don't want to be tightening out here, guys. Don't do that. That'll continue to squeeze the plate against the other side. You don't want that. At this point, that's already set, and you leave it alone. You just tighten out here. You just want to do the peen. See that, guys? See how that's peened out? There's the original size. There's the new size. There's no way. There. See, you can even see, the camera will pick it up. You can even see the metal ridged over right there. There's no way that chain's coming apart, guys. And if you're going to be racing on equipment that you put a lot of time and money into, that's what you want. You want that security. You don't want busted engine cases and crashes. Let's do it again. Back this one way out, way out. You want the riveter way out of the way. And you just set this one first with the anvil. Finger tight so it stays in place, no more. I already got the riveter in place. That rounded edge that matches it flat. Every once in a while, if these get dry, lube these threads. You want the threads loose and lubed and nice. And then go to town on that thing. There you go. See, that metal's bent out and that center surface went in. I don't know if the camera picked it up, but there was a puff of smoke where the surface hardening on that pin actually fractured. That's why that smoke came out. But there you go. It's a little tight, you know. See, I mean, I can move it though. It's okay. I'm not gonna worry about it. If you do accidentally do it too tight, before you peen it, you got to press it loose again. Use the press tool and just press it loose. But that's okay. It's loose enough that I'm gonna go with it. And then from there, you slide your chain adjuster bolts back and you set your tension. You know, right now obviously it's way too loose, but you know, I'm gonna set the proper tension and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is your clearance right here. That's a little bit loose. I wanted to show you what a little bit too loose look like, especially since it's a new chain and it's gonna stretch. So let's go to it. Looks about right. That's about right to me. That's good. It's slightly tight, and I'm going to leave it there. Why? Because it's a new chain and it's going to stretch. You'd rather have a slightly tight brand new chain than a slightly loose one. But once you're riding and once you're rolling, I'm just making the other side even. Once you're riding and moving around and rolling, then you want a slightly loose chain. A slightly loose chain is safer than a slightly tight chain. It won't break as quick. Okay, it's slightly tight. We're going to run it right there. So